Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the VA.gov platform general orientation session. My name is Shira Goodman. I am the product manager on the platform governance team, and I run this session. So let's get going. Welcome. Here's a brief overview of our agenda today. We are going to be covering some of the background of VA.gov, all the teams that are supporting VA.gov, how we work together, the collaboration cycle, and then some next steps that you likely have already completed. First up, we're going to cover VA.gov overview. So digital modernization. We are modernizing VA's technologies and bringing our digital experiences up to today's customer expectations and on par with the brands we interact with online every day. That is why we are all here. We want to make sure that veterans have a great experience on VA.gov. So how this all began is there was some research done, and essentially VA recognized that veterans weren't having a great experience with their online digital products. So beginning in January 2018, we started to change that, starting with web brand consolidation. As I said, the problem that veterans shared with us is that the multiple websites are confusing and complicated to use. In short, veterans did not know where to go to get access to the services that they are entitled to as veterans. There's vets.gov, My Healthy Vet, Explore VA, the App Store. It wasn't really clear what web brands provide which services. So we decided to change that. Launched on Veterans Day 2018, we built a new VA.gov that is a veteran-first product platform. This is actually an up-to-date screenshot of our homepage that was just worked on last year. But in short, we have all global navigation benefit hubs at the top, benefits promotional content, search and search tools, all of the benefit hubs. We want to make sure that all veterans have one front door to get to all of VA's benefits, tools, and services. If you are interested in learning more about the digital modernization strategy that the VA took on, or the web brand consolidation, both of these links work and they are available in the slide deck. So feel free to explore on your own. All right, moving along to teams supporting VA.gov. This is a screenshot from, or actually it's no longer a screenshot. I made it text, so no more accessibility concerns. But these are all of the teams as of January 2nd, 2024 that are supporting VA.gov. Quite a lot. When I started hosting this session, there was maybe 15 total. So it's pretty wild to see how far we've come and how big we've grown. So within those teams are OCTO. So OCTO stands for Office of the Chief Technology Officer. We specifically work with the digital experience branch, so DE. You'll sometimes see those used interchangeably. They're our client. They are the owners of VA.gov, and it is their job to ensure that as contractors, we build the products and services that meet their expectations for veterans. They're organized into 5 different crews. There's the platform crew, site-wide crew, account experience crew, health tools crew, and benefits tools crew. And they're very self-explanatory. We're going to cover platform a little bit more later today, but the rest are all teams that the work they do supports what's in the title. So those teams are all categorized as VFS, veteran-facing services. These are the teams that are building products, features, services, and tools on VA.gov. They are veteran-facing. They do their research with veterans. They ensure that the end goal is to serve veterans and to make the experience clear and concise and convenient for them. All crews except for platform are considered VFS teams. So moving along to platform. The platform team is here to help the Department of Veteran Affairs build great veteran-facing digital products and services. So what does that mean? We have essentially 3 main goals on platform crew. First is to maintain the infrastructure to keep VA.gov up and running. we keep the lights on. We make sure the site is available. It doesn't crash. It's able to handle the amount of traffic that's upcoming. That the tools that we use to support VA.gov um, are the licenses are up to date, and we're meeting all of the expectations of the VA. The second goal platform has is to make sure that the apps developed on VA.gov are up to our standards. So this is benefits apps, healthcare apps, burials apps. We want to make sure that they're consistent and they're all using the VA design system components, that they're all built similarly. So it appears to a veteran that it's built by one team and not the many different teams we saw previously. And then the third goal is we provide tools and support to VFS teams so that they develop stable, scalable apps quickly and securely. So these two kind of go hand in hand in order to ensure that VFS teams are building apps that meet the standards. We provide tools so that they can do that. So design system is a great example of that tool. Figma, other test rail tools. I'm sure you all know so many of them. The last note I have on this slide is just kind of a for your information note. In earlier contracts, the platform crew was under a contract called VSP, stands for Veteran Facing Services Platform. I think we've done a pretty good job of scrubbing VSP from everything, but just so you know, if you see VSP in reference anywhere, it's platform. Okay, so that's everyone, and this is how we work together. Some communication norms and escalation paths. So one of our big tools for communication is obviously Slack. By now, you all should have joined the Octo Slack instance. If you haven't, I can let you know how to do that at the end of the session. But some takeaways from Slack. There's a lot of happenings on Slack. So it's recommended that you join practice area specific channels. Obviously, you're on your team channel. Maybe you're on VFS all teams or VFS platform support. These are all more generic channels that have specific purposes. But there are practice area channels as well. So if you're a designer, I recommend you join the design channel. If you have a background in content, there is a content channel. It's just a good idea to have a general awareness of what's happening across VA.gov and all the teams supporting VA.gov. Octo asks that we default to generating discussion and asking questions in public channels. There's a few different reasons for this. The first is when you have conversations in public channels, it's open for everyone. So there might be people who have the same questions as well. And by asking in a public channel, you're allowing them that opportunity to see the responses. The other reason is the opposite, is there might be multiple answers. There might be multiple right ways of doing something. So by asking in a public channel, you're giving multiple people, multiple teams the option to provide their input. And then the third reason why we ask in public channels is Octo keeps metrics on this. And they have goals to try and have 40% of conversations or messages occur in public channels. I'm not sure where that number is at now. The last I checked, I think it was closer to 30%. However, please help Octo meet their goals and try and use public channels as much as possible. Please only use direct messages when it needs to be private. If you are messaging a colleague who works for the same company as you, try and use your own company's Slack instance or your own company's chat tool, whether that be Microsoft Teams or something else. The reason we also do this is because I'm going to skip ahead to this bullet. I should really reorder these. Everything in Octo Slack is subject to FOIA. This includes DMs, and this includes private channel conversations. So just please make sure that you're not saying anything that's going to come back and haunt you. Another reason why we encourage folks to use their own team chat tools if and when possible. Another Slack helpful hand is we have a WTF bot. So if you're new to VA and you don't know a lot of the VA terminology, including acronyms, you can use the WTF bot to help you with that. So just write / WTF and then the acronym you're looking to find. So ATO, if you were to input this, it would tell you it stands for authorization to operate. And if you'd like to contribute to the acronym list, you can do so in this GitHub repo. Oh, sorry. Last thing that I wanted to share for Slack is the VA.gov teams are not the only teams that use this Slack instance. It's used by other Octo folks that are outside of the Octo DE bracket. So it's very, very, very helpful to platform as well as other teams when you have information about yourself in your profile. We have a generic template that includes your crew, team, your role, and the organization that you work for. You can put this in the title section of your Slack profile. So for example, mine says platform governance product manager for Oddball. The other thing that we ask you to do that's helpful is add your GitHub username. That's if you have like a weird GitHub username that doesn't have your name in it. Sometimes it's just helpful for the support folks to connect those dots. Yeah, the what I do section or the title section, either will work as long as it's visible when someone views your profile. All right, moving along to platform support. I mentioned their channel previously, the VFS platform support channel. Platform, since we do provide a lot of services on various tools and pull requests and documentation support, we have a Slack channel where you can go and open a support request and get help from platform. I'm not going to dwell on everything here, but there is a 2-minute video that team has created that will help you understand how best to use their workflows in Slack and what to expect when working with them. They also have some information on their page about like what is in scope for them. So if you have a question and you're not sure, you can always ask them but they may tell you that's outside of platform scope. They also have a getting help from the platform and Slack page on platform website that will tell you how to submit that Slack request. This was a message that I included in the last orientation session. I'll just echo it again here. PR reviews, when you submit them, they're automatically flagged for the team. So you do not need to request the review in Slack within that same day. If it's been more than a day, go for it. But they have their own intake process. So requesting in Slack just kind of adds to the process for them. All right, GitHub. GitHub is another tool that all of us use. I realize I forgot to mention this on the Slack slide, but I'll say it now. Slack and GitHub, although platform utilizes these tools, we do not own these tools. These are owned by the VA. So we may be able to help with some requests and we may be able to help with some support for GitHub and Slack, but a lot of the times we maybe have to direct you elsewhere because these are not tools that platform fully manages. As I said, we don't own them. But we do have some best practices for how to use GitHub appropriately. This is mostly for product managers when it comes to organizing and managing all of the documentation that your team produces. We ask that you create a ZenHub issue or product folder. You can use ZenHub if you like. You're not required to use ZenHub, but you can create a product folder under the main, I think there's a products page on the VA.gov team repo. We ask that decisions made in Slack and conversations outside of like face-to-face or Zoom conversations, everything be documented in GitHub as it is the source of truth and it is where platform folks will go to look for information and guidance. So this includes planning, notes, documentation. They should all be in Markdown files. We also ask research documentation and design decisions be in the appropriate research folder within the product. We try and keep everything organized by the product and not team, because teams change and products are more static. And also, if you're looking at previous history or previous research or anything, make sure you just cross-link the research history. All right, I've mentioned it several times, but I'll review again now. Platform website, since platform has a lot of provides a lot of support to VFS teams, we have our own website with all of the guidance. You likely have already been there, which is how you found this orientation session or signed up for this session. The platform content team who manages the platform website. They have put together a little 1-minute video that just explains the overall architecture of the site and how to find what you're looking for. So please watch that on your own time. Another communication tool that we're all familiar with is email. Please do not use email for contacting platform crew. We do not use email. We do most all of our communication through Slack. So if you email somebody from platform crew, it's possible they may not reply. They may not see it for a long time. We'll use email for scheduling meetings and stuff, but majority of communication should take place through Slack and GitHub. Okay, embracing collaboration. All right, how the platform improves. So one of the teams on platform crew is the service design team, and they manage our improvement processes. So we want to hear from you. We want to make sure that as a VFS team, you're kind of a customer of ours. We want to make sure our tools and our processes are convenient for you and work for you and are clear. So we ask that you provide feedback to us. We have a few different options on how to do that. The always open feedback loops are the platform feedback. This is new. This is a Slack command. So if you're in Slack, you can just write /platform feedback and it'll open up a workflow and you can share your concerns with us. There's, I believe, some questions that you'll be prompted to answer, but it's a great, quick, and convenient way to let us know what's on your mind. The other more formal way is if you have an idea for a new feature that you want platform to consider working on, we have the feature request process. So this, I believe, directs you to a page on platform website. I believe it's a GitHub ticket, similar style questions of what is your idea? Who is this going to impact? How do you think this will work? We do review all of these and ensure that the appropriate platform team will respond and make sure that your ideas are heard. So for example, if you have ideas for how this orientation session could be improved, let us know. We would love to hear from you. The last feedback loop is our platform satisfaction survey. This is sent out once a quarter. We use this to kind of gauge and track feedback over time, see how we're doing year after year, quarter after quarter. So I'm not sure if this is open right now. Actually, you know what? Let's find out. It is closed for the quarter. So, but when this is open, you'll be notified via Slack, and please fill out the survey. It's very helpful for us. All right, some few other ways how we all collaborate together. The first one is the weekly cross VA.gov Team of Teams meeting. This takes place every Tuesday at 12 Eastern time. If you're a team building on or for VA.gov, we ask you to attend and participate. It's essentially big stand-up meeting of what teams are working on that other teams need to be made aware of. For example, my team, we canceled the analytics orientation live session. So that's something I would have shared today because that impacts the people who signed up for the live session. So we ask that you share 60-second or less update. Usually one team member, usually the product or delivery manager, is the representative for the team. It's not only their job to create a slide and share it in the meeting, but also listen and to the other teams and make sure that anything else that's happening on VA.gov isn't going to negatively impact your team, or if it is, you know how to handle it. So yeah, that's our team of teams meeting. We have other practice area specific meetings that are occurring or reoccurring. For example, the design community of practice has a Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time design meeting. Different designers and researchers and even accessibility specialists and information architects, content folks, even product managers have participated as well, and they'll share little tidbits of what they're working on, maybe some experimental design that their team has been exploring, or the results of research that they just completed with veterans. So that's a really great meeting to attend, to just kind of get a sneak peek of what's happening across VA.gov. And I know there's other practice area specific meetings that occur on a separate cadence. So the best way to find out about those meetings is join Slack, browse the channels, join the channels that are of interest to you, and yeah, stay in touch. All right. I'm going to take a pause real quick just to see if anybody has any questions. Feel free to take yourselves off mute. Take a sip too.
Had a question pop up earlier. I can't remember off the top of my head. Is there some other Octo sub areas like that you mentioned DE? Is there any similar sub areas that are in line with that, or DE is kind of also encompasses all of Octo?
I think it's the largest group within Octo, and it's the majority of the people that we work with on VA.gov. That's a great question, though. I might have to follow up with you, William, because I'm not 100% sure. I do know the folks that help with the team of teams meeting are part of the Octo PMO. So that is likely outside of the DE group. But other than that, I'm not too familiar with any other Octo groups. That's
That is very helpful, though. I mean, that means it is pretty much all of Octo.
Yeah, and I think that's why we typically use Octo and Octo DE interchangeably, or Octode, as some people will say. Yeah. All right, I'm going to move on. This is the last section of the orientation, and we should wrap up early today. All right, so collaboration cycle. I mentioned earlier the 3 platform goals, the second one being ensuring that veteran-facing products are up to the site standards. That's what the collaboration cycle is and what we're all about. It is a process to ensure that all of the features, all of the tools and services available to veterans on VA.gov are meeting the standards of the site. So the collaboration cycle is managed by my team. That is the governance team on platform. There's just 6 of us. I am the product manager. Allison is our designer. Rebecca is our content specialist. Erin is our IA. Brian's our accessibility specialist. And Ian is our QA specialist. We do not have a public Slack channel, but if you ever want to pull us into any conversations, we have a Slack group, so you can just tag at platform governance team members and pull all of us into your team's conversations on Slack. It's a cycle. This is a very high level overview of what the collab cycle looks like. In short, we try and meet with teams throughout their build process. In the early days of VA.gov, we were doing one-off accessibility reviews and one-off content reviews towards the end of when a team is getting ready to push to production. And it wasn't a great experience because we would come back with feedback that would impact their flow or impact the IA, which then impacts content, which, it's a domino effect. So we built this process that allows us and you to kind of check in periodically throughout the build process, so that when you do get to production, or when you are ready to launch production, there's no surprises. We build our process out into 4 different phases. The 4th phase is currently being underused right now or not used at all, but we'll leave it there because we have future plans. Essentially, define phases when you're still trying to define and design for the problem at hand. Discover is typically when teams are doing research and iterating on feedback they've received from veterans. Build is when you're ready, you're in a staging environment, you're ready to launch into production, and then validate will come along later. This is a process that's supported by more than just platform team and more, or platform crew, and more than just governance team. My team manages 4 of these touch points. However, we work with other teams on site-wide crew as well as within platform to support this. I see the question in the chat. I'm going to read it out loud. At what point in the collaboration cycle should a product initiative brief or product outline be filled out? Ideally early. I mean, if you know what problem you're trying to solve, it's going to be beneficial to not only you and us to get that going early. You can always iterate it on it later if your scope changes, or if your solution changes, or if an additional problem has come to light. We expect product outlines or initiative briefs, whatever you want to call them, to be definitely before build, to be living documents. We understand that they're going to change, but they're helpful tools for us, for our team especially, to be able to understand quickly and efficiently what your team is working on and why. All right, so I'm going to move on. The VA.gov experience standards is the set of criteria that governance team uses to ensure your team meets design, IA, content, and accessibility standards. So this is available on platform website. Right now, it's like 91 different standards. We're in the process of narrowing this down and making them a bit more broad so that they lean on the existing sources of truth out there, such as the design system and the content style guide. But overall, when we do our staging review, if we document issues found where a team is not meeting standards, they're always going to link back to one of the VA.gov experience standards. I'm not going to cover too much of the QA standards today, but QA is also managed under my team on governance. There's 5 QA standards to ensure that VFS teams are building products that thoroughly tested. We have pretty low bar here of ensuring that you have a test plan and a regression test plan, and you've done end-to-end testing. We do enforce this, so you do need to provide evidence of this. Ian on my team covers this in the QA orientation, which is scheduled for tomorrow. You can learn more about that then. Okay, so in the define phase, I'm going to run through these pretty quickly, and once we get through each of the touch points, we should be done. So collab cycle kickoff. Essentially, this is the intake request. When your team knows what problem they're going to be addressing, like this form is outdated, or this tool doesn't include an option to narrow by location, or whatever it is that your team is working on that's going to help a veteran on VA.gov, we want to know about it. If it's going to impact the veteran experience, then we request that you bring that work through the collaboration cycle. And the collab cycle kickoff is just basically how you kick that off, how you initiate that work. So it's a GitHub ticket that we call our collaboration cycle request ticket. There's a series of questions that you'll answer. Typically, this is completed by the product manager. We'll ask you to follow up with us on Slack to let us know that this ticket was submitted. We'll make some adjustments to the ticket and let you know what collab cycle touch points we think would be valuable for your team and your product. It's very straightforward. It's just an intake request, in short. Next up is the design intent. Sorry, before I answer that design intent, I'll read the question in the chat. Should all products built in VA.gov have a collab cycle issue made for it? Yes. Platform crew is accountable for ensuring that standards are met. And so if your team isn't actively making changes to a product, let me think of an example, like a form of some sort. If your team is responsible for it, but you're not actively editing it, no, it doesn't need to go through collab cycle. We only care about uh, proposed changes or changes that you're making. If you're making a bug fix, like something, there's an error that somebody noticed, that doesn't need to go through collab cycle either. It's only intentional changes. So for example, that form example, if you're adding a new question that'll allow somebody to narrow down by location, or if you're heavily changing the content, or you realize you're using outdated design components, those are all things that we're going to ask you bring through the collaboration cycle, because it's kind of like a trickle effect. One will impact design, is going to impact the content, which is going to impact IA, which is absolutely going to impact accessibility concerns. So we need to make sure that teams are meeting those standards. All right, moving on to the design intent. So this is typically the first meeting that we have with teams. It serves a couple different purposes. The first being, we ask the VFS team to present to our team what problem is at hand and what is your solution to it. So, going back to that forms example, the problem is veterans have told us they want to be able to filter down by location. And so we're adding a location tracker to this form or whatever it may be. And we'll ask you to present to us the user flow that you've developed and maybe any wireframes or low fidelity prototypes that you have so far. So just kind of walk us through where you're at. We'll then provide feedback. We'll let you know what design system components may be helpful for you to use. We'll let you know what accessibility concerns to be aware of early on. We may point you to other teams. We may point you to other products. We may, ask a bunch of questions about your product if we don't have clarity. But in short, we're going to provide you early feedback that'll hopefully help guide you to building a product that meets the standards. The meeting's 30 minutes long. It's recorded, so you're able to go and watch it later. The outcome is that our designer, our IA specialist, and our accessibility specialist are going to draft tickets in GitHub that have their recommendations. Their recommendations of the design intent are use what we call our must, should, or consider framework. Must items are typically items where if you do not change this, this is going to be an issue when you get to staging. This is going to be a documented standards violation. Should items are things where you should potentially do this, but it may not necessarily be a standard. It's considered a best practice, or it's too early for us to tell if it's going to be a standards violation. A lot of the accessibility stuff, when we're looking at wireframes and sketches, doesn't always translate to code and what we see. So that's why we use this framework that'll allow you to kind of make decisions that are best for your team. And then lastly, consider items are things that, hey, what you have is not necessarily wrong, but there might be a better way you could be doing this, or you considered this, that, we try and be a second set of ears, second set of eyes. You can bounce ideas off of us. We're here to help. We're on the same side. We want you guys to build something that's great and that's going to solve veteran problems. So we've done some research on this touch point recently, and we have heard that teams really do get a lot of value from it, especially new teams, especially products that are brand new to VA.gov, if they've only existed in like a paper form before, or if they've only ever existed on a legacy site. The design intent is a really valuable touch point. All right, site-wide Kaya intake request is next. Kaya is a team on the site-wide crew. And Kaya stands for Content, Accessibility, and IA. I should really fix this. And they have a lot of overlap with our team. The big difference is they're not just a point in time like a design intent. Site-wide Kaya intake request, This team is here to provide more dedicated one-on-one support for content accessibility and IA. We understand that a lot of VFS teams don't have dedicated content writers or don't have dedicated accessibility specialists or information architect. And having somebody on your on Kaya that can help you with this and provide more dedicated support has proven to be really helpful. So this is their intake request. Basically, once you engage with them, they'll let you know how they're going to provide feedback and how they'll work with you. I do know that they typically request folks attend their office hours. They'll do their own kickoff process with you, typically post design intent, so that they can utilize the design intent and not have to ask you guys to repeat yourselves again. But yeah, they're gonna give you an IA design. They're going to provide content recommendations for your full product, and other accessibility concerns as well. Whether you know that support can vary depending on the product. But yeah, this is the SciY Kaya intake request. All right, next up in our discover phase is a midpoint review. So this is another touch point owned by my team. It's very similar to the design intent, just a different phase of where you're at in your product build. Midpoint review typically occurs when teams are preparing to do research with veterans. It started as like a midpoint check-in so that when teams bring their prototypes and their research plans to their research with actual veterans, that they're bringing something to them that is as close to standards as possible. We really do not want you to have to start doing research only to find out that there's glaring standards issues in your prototype that would negate the research that you had completed so far. So it's just a midpoint check-in. This is optional, all these touch points are there, or not all of them, but most of them are. Your team can opt out if you so choose. Similar to design intent for newer teams or newer products, we highly recommend this. The other nice part about midpoint review is it can be done asynchronously. So if you don't want to meet with us face to face, but still get our input, you can still submit a midpoint review and we'll just provide feedback tickets based off of the artifacts you share with us. Also similar to design intent, our feedback is going to follow that must, should, consider framework, where the change here is that we'll provide content feedback at midpoint review. We don't provide content feedback at design intent because it's just a little too early to start talking about content. All right, reading the question in the chat. Would research participants include not only veterans, but veteran service reps too? Okay, I know what team you're on. Yeah, definitely. I'll actually go to the next slide and that'll help explain research a bit more. The research review touchpoint in the collaboration cycle is managed by OctoDE. Shane Strasberg is the research lead. He's phenomenal. His goal is to make sure that we follow research best practices and not asking any leading questions. We kind of say the midpoint review and the research review go hand in hand, where the midpoint review is more focused on the product itself and the prototypes your team has built, where the research review is more focused on your research plan. What are you doing with that prototype? How are you going to be working with the veterans in your research, in the research that you do? The research operations contractor that Shane works closely with is called Perigian. They're the research operations contractor. They'll help connect us with actual veterans once you get the research review seal of approval. When it comes to veteran service reps, I'm not sure if that's a service that Perigian can provide. However, Shane would be the person to ask, and he can point you in the right direction. If you need if you want to do testing of your product with veteran service reps or other specific groups of veterans or people that aren't even veterans, maybe caretakers or family of veterans, whoever it might be. Shane's the person to ask. I'm sure Perigian can help connect us with those folks. Research review is it's similar. It's unlike the midpoint review. There's no meeting. You submit your plan and your conversation guide to Shane, and he'll provide feedback. And once you get his thumbs up, or someone from his team's thumb up, he'll pass you along to Perigian so you can begin setting up sessions. All right, next up is the analytics request. This is actually managed by the analytics and insights team on Platform Crew. Their goal is to make sure that VFS teams are able to track how veterans are engaging with their product on VA.gov. Whatever engagement looks like to you, that's for you and your team to define, but they're here to help connect the dots and help make it easier for you to track. So it's also typically asynchronous. They don't always, it could vary. They don't have a mandatory meeting, but they might request a meeting if your requirements are unclear. But in short, you submit this Google Analytics implementation request ticket on GitHub, and they'll follow up and help and provide support. All right, moving along to our build phase. The contact center review is next. This is managed by the veterans support team. They're on, oh, I always forget what crew they're on. Account experience, I believe. They are here to help you create your product guide and product video. The reason this is important is if and when your product goes live on VA.gov, I'll go back to that form example again. And this form has never lived on VA.gov before. If a veteran has trouble completing it, if they keep getting blocked on something, they're going to call the VA call centers for support. And the call center representatives need to understand how to provide support to your product. They need to have like a user guide of sorts so that they can help the veteran troubleshoot. So that's what the contact center team is. They're going to help create your product guide and product video. They ask that you engage with them maybe about a sprint if it's an existing product, or 2 sprints before you plan to launch if it's a brand new product. All right, next up is the staging review. This is the last touch point that my team manages. In short, it's the final review before your launch. We do one last review of your completed product, your completed build, and we document any standards issues that we uncover. This is mandatory. We've had teams bypass this before, but only when it's like a critical or urgent product. For example, a few years ago when the COVID vaccines were released, when the vaccine page went up, they got to completely bypass this because getting the information out there was more important than making sure it met the site standards. So this rarely gets a pass, or teams really are exempt from skipping this. Similar to design intent and midpoint review, we're going to review your product in full. This is why we ask you to share with us your user flows and your product outline so we can have a good idea of what's in scope. I mean, you all saw the full VFS team slide. There's 40 different teams out there, plethora of different products on VA.gov, and my team provides support for all of them. So it's really, really helpful. The more details you can give us on what this product is and what problem it's supposed to solve and all of the different use cases and all of the different scenarios, the better support we're going to be able to provide to you. So we typically require teams share with us the link to their tool or feature in the staging environment, and we're going to do full end-to-end tests. Unlike the midpoint and design intent, where we provide our feedback using the must, should, and consider framework, this is where we're going to pivot and document issues. So the issues are going to be in line with the VA.gov experience standards, which I covered earlier. And we're going to have 1 ticket per issue found. If the issue impacts multiple practice areas, for example, if it's an IA and an accessibility issue, both of our IA and our accessibility specialists are going to comment on the ticket and provide their input we'll also ensure that we all work together so we're coming off as one cohesive, unified, aligned voice. Um, One of the other prerequisites for the staging review is the completed accessibility testing artifact. There may be more information about this in the accessibility orientation session, but in short, accessibility testing is a lot and it's very time consuming. And so we ask that VFS teams kind of help us out with this a bit. Um, so the accessibility testing artifact goes over a lot of what we call our foundational accessibility testing. This is checking zoom rate. Is your product usable at 200% zoom, 300% zoom, 400% zoom? It's checking color contrast. Is this would not fly in the design system, but do you have pink text on a red background? That's not going to work because people with certain types of color blindness will not be able to read that. So we ask you to check a lot of that stuff ahead of time. There are very, very clear instructions on how to do that. You do not need to have any background in accessibility in order to do that. And that's one of the things that we ask you to send us ahead of time. We'll then do the more advanced accessibility testing, such as using a screen reader and verifying that the code is has all of the correct ARIA labels and everything that we need to ensure for meeting accessibility standards. The other thing that's going to come out of this staging review is we're going to identify launch blocking issues, if any. So most of the issues we document, if they're not launch blocking, that means you're free to launch without addressing them. You can put them on your backlog and hopefully get to them within the next few sprints. However, the only things that we're going to block you on are the launch blocking issues. One of my go-to examples is spelling. So for example, let's say you have a typo on a page. We're going to document that as an issue. Obviously, you need to have a period at the end of this sentence, or you need to have a closed parentheses or something. Is it a launch blocking issue? No, it's not going to impact a veteran's ability to comprehend or use the product in any way. However, if you have 50-ish typos on one page, it's the same issue, just now you've gone into launch blocking territory where it's so bad, a veteran may not be able to comprehend the content, or they may have, if they're using a screen reader, they're not going to be able to get past certain things. So that's why we have a lot of, it's not black and white, unfortunately. There is a lot of conditional concerns that we have when it comes to identifying issues that meet our standards. Another launch blocking issue would be like if a button doesn't work, the submit button, or anything that's going to prevent or make it extremely difficult for the veteran to use the product as it's intended to be used. All right. Next up is the Privacy Security Infrastructure Readiness Review, and I promise we're almost over. This is managed by the platform security team. It's to ensure security and privacy and infrastructure standards are met. So we want to make sure that your product is not compromising any PII or PHI, or if there is an expected amount of traffic that you're expecting on launch, that our team is prepared for it. We want to make sure that you're not doing anything that's going to make VA.gov vulnerable in any way. So they only request a meeting when necessary. There is the Privacy Security Infrastructure Readiness Review feed ticket in the VA.gov Team Sensitive repository. You'll fill it out, you'll answer the questions, and they'll follow up and they'll let you know if they have concerns about any other responses. So it's pretty asynchronous. And that's that. Okay, so collaboration cycle support. There are office hours every Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. You can sign Eastern time. You can sign up on the resources page on platform website. If you also have other questions for collab cycle, you can submit a support request on the VFS platform support channel and select governance team. I feel like I should also add, you can tag us in Slack on our platform governance team Slack channel or Slack group. All right, next steps. Most of you likely have already done this, but if you have not, please submit a new VFS team member template. This is going to ensure that as a new person supporting a VFS team, you are added to the VFS team roster. So this will help ensure that you can get access to certain tools. We're also going to add you to the vets.gov right GitHub team. This is going to give you access to, I think, 26, 27 different VA repos and the VA organization. Complete that on your own time. I assume most of you have already done that, but if not, please do. You'll likely get blocked on something later if you don't do it now. And that is it. So I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you all. And if you has any questions, feel free to ask. We got 7 minutes left.
You answered all my questions. Thank you.
Oh, cool. Great. Thank you. All right. If no one has anything else, thank you guys for attending. And I'm sure I'll see you around. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye, Shira. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thanks,
Bye, everyone.
everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.